$100? That's it? Okay, let's see what we can do. Welcome back to CompTV, a place you can go for all things tech. We've seen an $875 workstation and we've seen a $250 console killer, but today we pull out all the stops, or I guess put them in, and drop our budget down to $100. Along with my good friend Matt from the Toasty Bros and Charles from Tech Always, we are going to build the best possible gaming system that we can to see who can get the best performance for the price. Also, the classy Oz from Oztalks Hardware has kindly accepted the role as moderator to tally the results and choose the winner. The rules are simple. The parts had to be bought within the time frame, we had about a month, and they had to be bought from either eBay, Craigslist, or Reddit Hardware Swap. And the price had to be $100 or less. Now, since we had such a low budget and we had fairly inactive local deals, we decided not to include shipping. But we had a gentleman's rule that we wouldn't buy any silly item that included a majority of the cost in the shipping, which is what some listings do to appear cheaper than its competitors. So, are you sick of me talking yet? Because I am. I'll start with the hardware and how much I spent, and then we'll benchmark the system and I'll give my closing thoughts. So, let's check my system out. To start this all off, I bought almost every single part from eBay. This was for a few reasons. One, I wanted to make the build as repeatable as possible to show you that you can all build the same system, or at least one that is competent for the same price. And two, again, my area isn't the greatest for used hardware. So I started with finding the base system. Eventually, I lucked out by snatching an OEM Prime Systems Directron from 2010 for $40. This features an AMD Phenom 2 quad-core at 3.0 GHz, 4GB of RAM, and a motherboard that is full of overclocking functions, which I was very happy about since free performance is always a nice bonus. I actually didn't even know it was an overclocking motherboard at first, but this would definitely become a saving grace in the benchmarks. In this price range, old Intel Core 2 Duos and Core 2 Quads are a given in terms of the CPU. Although they are popular and well respected, some quick research revealed that with some more searching, I could get slightly better performance by going with AMD. So with $60 to spare, I tried to get the best GPU reasonable, knowing that I would probably need a separate power supply to be sure that I could power everything, especially knowing that I would overclock. Well, I ended up snatching up an OEM GTX 660 with 1.5GB of VRAM. I knew this card was a solid overclocker and I managed to bid on it and get it for only $35. I was very happy with this, knowing that $25 would be the perfect amount for the PSU. So finally I snatched a $25 Corsair CX430, and although this seems like pretty low wattage for the machine, especially for overclocking, my kilowatt proved clutch when I realized that the system was barely pushing 200 watts at full load. So I was able to snatch all of that for a total of exactly $100 without shipping. Do note that in reality I spent just about $127.50 with shipping included, so if you do plan on making a system like this, give yourself about $25 to $30 for shipping. In terms of overclocking, I was able to comfortably get the 945 boost clock GPU to 1110 for a 17.4% overclock. Do note that I didn't touch the voltage at all because I wanted something quick and easy, but we'll definitely explore the limits of this graphics card and CPU in the video in the next few weeks. In terms of the CPU, I bumped up the clock to 3.3 GHz for a quick 10% increase, again without touching the voltage. I was amazed that after running AIDA64 and playing through the benchmarks, I didn't even get a hiccup, other than accidentally hitting the power button a few times. Anyways, how about the PSU? Surely I'm pushing it to the limit, seeing as the recommended PSU for the 660 alone is 450 watts, let alone the extra juice we're squeezing out of the hardware. Well, Kilowatt to the rescue, showing that even at max load, we only pull a max of 215 watts, which is only 50% of the total output of our PSU. We can give or take some of this wattage, knowing that the efficiency isn't 100%, and we're still in safe territory. Alright, we get it. Show us the benchmarks. For our baseline, Firestrike started us off with a solid 4,463. As a quick reference, I got a 4,094 before the overclock, showing that only 15 minutes of fiddling gave us almost 400 more points. For CSGO, we got a pleasant 80 FPS minimum, 187 FPS max, and an average of 132 frames per second. This is to be expected since the game could literally be run on a toaster. Of course, we all have to benchmark my favorite game, Rocket League, which you'll notice that I'm beating Charles in the background. But we'll see if I beat him in the benchmarks with our minimum of 54 FPS, a max of 90, and an average of 73. Overwatch of course lived up to the Blizzard standard of being well optimized, running at a minimum of 53 FPS, 94 max, and a 76 frames per second average. Although I'm not that great at the game, I seriously love playing it. Thank you, Blizzard. This nightmare, after waiting upwards of 15 to 20 minutes per pass, ran at a solid average of about 30 FPS. I'll provide better details on screen since Fraps refused to record the average FPS, and I didn't have any other methods on hand to track these scores at the time. GTA 5 was definitely a doozy and something we all knew we would laugh at, especially when going up against a $100 PC. Thankfully, I was able to pull out a minimum of 8 FPS, a max of 76, and an average of 50 frames per second. You'll notice that the final product ended up being everything piled within the original case, and although this looks weird, I did this on purpose because with this budget, I think this is more of something you can expect. Yeah, you can get a fancy case, but I think given the hardware and the price to performance, this is probably the best way to do this, and you can easily transfer it to a new case in the future. Overall, I honestly had a ton of fun building this PC. If this were my main rig, I would gladly play at medium to high settings, knowing that I only paid around $100 for it. Also, getting the additional 10 to 20% performance increases from the overclocking was really fun and extremely rewarding, so be sure to look out for a future video where I push the hardware to its absolute limits, but also in a sustainable way to see the full potential of this $100 system. I guess that's it. I hope I did well in this competition, but either way, it was a huge honor to work with Matt and Charles, so good luck to them, and thanks again to Oz for being willing to pick a winner for us. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more content like this, consider subscribing to the channel. Oh, and in case you didn't know, I'm Lee from CompTV.